So back to the advocate. Trusted, reliable, level-headed advocate. Somebody who can help you with decision making. Somebody who keeps you on track in the doctor's office. Somebody you can cry to when you have a bad day. That's important. Consider a childbirth for doula. Even if you don't consider a doula for childbirth. Even if you don't specifically get a doula, have somebody who can advocate. I cannot advocate for my sister. I was the worst person in the world to try to do that. I was too close to the situation, too late to the situation, and very confused. If I had had a conversation with my friend going into it, like, you were able to stay objective and clear-headed, like, that it may have been a better situation, I really don't know, but the possibility exists. So share your research, information, and emotions with others. And like I said, you're going to get all of this. You're going to get so much information. You're going to be like, oh, Lord, I got reading for months. So get your screenings. Early detection does save lives. Colon cancer, we have higher rates. And especially if you have a family history. I'm talking, y'all, I know I need to get my screening done. I've been putting it off, but it's time. So your STD screenings, your pap smears, and so a note about that is particularly, just because the current pap regulations, they're not even regulations, they're suggested guidelines, whatever. Essentially it boils down to what your insurance company can pay for, okay? So just because the current recommendations say you only need a pap smear every 3 years, that does not mean you should not be getting your annual well woman checkup. And the pap smear is literally just that. They're looking at the cells to see if they're abnormal. With the checkup, they're feeling those ovaries. They're looking at other stuff. And that's the best time to get your STD screening. So
is the pap smear included in the well woman checkup or no?
Well, it's separated out because now the recommendation is 3 years. Okay. So, but if you have had an abnormal pap, that's the difference. So say you went, your pap was abnormal, they don't want you to wait 3 years. Like depending on how abnormal it was, they may have you come back in 3 months, in 6 months, whatever. So the 3-year recommendation is only if you have had a normal pap. So
can you ask for, although I know it's like an insurance game, a money game, if you want a pap smear, how do you advocate for yourself in that?
You can still ask for one.
It just depends on if they'll cover it.
Exactly, yeah. You can and that's the thing, you can always ask for whatever you want, and that's important with the STD screenings. They don't always screen for everything. So even when you have an STD screening, say, well, what are you screening for? Are they looking at chlamydia, gonorrhea, the HPVs, what else is there? Trichomoniasis, yes, herpes, and so some of the panels don't pick up everything. So you may just say, give me everything. Give me the whole kit and caboodle. So, or at least find out what is exactly in the screening. The breast cancer screenings, that has been a back and forth too in terms of recommendations and how often you should really have do breast self-exams and things like that. But at the end of the day, early detection does save lives. The things with the mammograms for Black women is that our breasts are more fibrous. So that it presents differently in a mammogram. And a mammogram is an awful procedure, which they really need to improve. Okay? So there are all of these things that play into it.
I was demonstrating for you. Hold your breath. It's like, oh, Jesus, okay. Now relax.
Can I just say one more thing about the pap smear? Because I'm going to tell you how old I am. Medicare will not pay for a pap smear if you're over 65.
At all?
Yeah, she was just telling us.
Unless there's a reason, unless there's an indication.
But Black women have higher rates of everything.
Yeah, that's secondary insurance.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
That's why I'm like, what?
There's a need for a policy change there.
Exactly. So 2 more slides, y'all, then we're gonna wrap it up. Okay, so what else can you do? This is very important. Know your doctor, vet your doctor. Don't wait until you're naked on the exam table to have that be the first time you meet your doctor.
Right.
And that means even if it is your first time meeting your doctor and you need like some kind of exam, tell the person who takes you in that you want to speak to your doctor first. We're all vulnerable when we're naked on an exam table. So talk to your doctor. And if you schedule the appointment, say, hey, can I schedule 10 minutes prior to my real appointment so I can sit and talk to the doctor in their office. Do the things that you need to feel comfortable with who your provider is. And ask yourself these questions. Was your doctor recommended by a trusted person? Did you do your research on this doctor? Does your doctor listen to you? Can you ask questions without feeling judged? Are you able to be 100% honest with your doctor? Is your doctor receptive when you bring in a journal article for consideration in your treatment plan? I threw that in there because I have high blood pressure, so it runs in my family. So I was talking to my physician years ago, and I had like my little research. I was like, can I do acupuncture for my blood pressure? And my doctor was like, not that I'm knocking your research, but your blood pressure is really high. So I think you will have a stroke. I think you should take this medication and experiment with acupuncture at another time. And she made a valid point. I'm a reasonable person. So things like that. And once again, take your trusted, reliable, level-headed advocate to your appointments, especially when, honestly, if you're getting older, you know you don't remember stuff the way you used to, so, and you're not good at writing it down. Sometimes we have to go with my parents because I love them, but they're not really reliable about what the doctor told them. Like, Mommy, what did the doctor say? So just things like that. Take your advocate. So, and finally, you can soothe your soul. I don't know about y'all, but research does soothe my soul because you're still going to be your own best advocate. So you feel the best, but you're not just taking somebody else's word for it. You looked into it. You may have went to 2 or 3 doctors. I know that's a little dicey if you do have an HMO or something like that. And so that's another caveat about doctors too. If you need a second opinion, don't have the second opinion be that doctor's partner in the practice, okay? Go outside of the practice because doctors have each other's backs. And they are very reluctant to challenge another doctor's perception of whatever's going on. So you want different avenues if you're doing second opinions. So find support groups. Google them. Your church could have one. There could be something already started in your community. You can start a support group. Meetup is a great place to start stuff. If you have 2 girlfriends and you've all had breast cancer and you want to be out in the community helping other women with breast cancer, start a meetup group where you meet like once a month and you all talk to each other and feel better and figure out how to help other people. You can check out Black women health organizations. There's Sister Song. There's Black Mamas Matter. The Black Women's Health Imperative. There are other Black women specific organizations as well. You can also get active. Like there are programs like Girl Trek and Black Girls Run where it motivates Black women to keep moving. So Girl Trek, the premise is 30 minutes a day. You have to walk 30 minutes a day.
Right.
Period.
Right.
And they're like, you don't have to do cardio. You don't have to do weights. The literature demonstrates that just walking, and it's that consistency.
Right.
You're moving your body 30 minutes every day.
Right.
It does wonders for your mind, body, spirit. You can join a local Girl Trek chapter if there isn't one in your area. You can start one. That's what they want you to do. black girls run, they really will run. So, but they will work with you on your running journey. So you too can love running. Not my favorite, but still. So my personal favorite is therapy. Ooh, I love me a good therapist. Okay?
Yes.
Therapy for me is my place to go for unbiased advice.
Exactly.
My philosophy is I can talk to my girlfriends, I can talk to my parents, my sisters. They all have a direction that they kind of like to push you in. But for me, when I talk to a therapist, it's unbiased advice. I can get things off my chest. I found that it actually really made my relationships that much stronger, because instead of spending an hour complaining about whatever was bothering me, we could actually talk about other things that wasn't the press fest. So personally, I found value in therapy, and I personally like to stick to going to black women therapists because I feel like that's one less hurdle for me to jump through in terms of understanding just being a black woman in our society, but that's me. So, positive coping mechanisms, whatever is positive. A lot of times we try to cope with drugs and alcohol and getting into some stuff we probably shouldn't be getting into. So try to keep your coping mechanisms positive, and non-judgmental religion also helps. So it's that non-judgmental.
Can I ask you a question while you do this real fast, if I don't mind? I'm not sure what the trend is. I know as a husband, per se, I know when my wife was dealing with gynecologists, do you have any trends like how do husbands go with the wives to these things? Because I know when I did mine for my wife, they tried to just push her aside, but I stood there and I said, I'm not leaving this office upstairs all day to make sure she gets taken care of. And everybody laughed at me.
What kind of appointment was it?
Gynecologist.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
So I went there and dealt with those things, and then they tried to dismiss her, so I wrote letters back to them that we need to have this A, B, C, and D, and they try to dismiss her again. So I had to write letters to the healthcare system, to get it taken care of again. And then they decided to concede because the director of the healthcare for the state, what we're dealing with at the time, they tried to dismiss it, but I was going to threaten to sue her, and it was a black woman, okay, who was fighting the very care that she needed. But because I wrote these letters, then they decided we don't want to speak black men wait in our office all day long, so let's go and do what they say.
What we always have to remember is we live in a society where black people get all of the messages about how bad black people are too, okay? And a lot of times when black people are in real positions of power, they have been put there by white people because they know that they will protect the vested interests of that company, organization, whatever. So in all of your interactings and dealings, I never assume that just because a person is black, they're actually going to treat me better. Your politics matter.
Right.
So that is just that's just the way it is. We internalize and believe all of the bad things, and so we have to work so much harder to not feel like the way my hair grows out of my head isn't crappy and like my dark skin isn't beautiful. It takes a lot of mind work, and you only know if people have done that by interacting with them. So in terms of studies specifically, remember, as with all things, research, whatever, there has to be a vested interest in looking at this stuff, and there has to be some kind of funding that goes along with it. I haven't seen that study, but one of the I should have put that slide in. It was a slide that they specifically said that when it came to one of these outcomes that more study and research was needed, and I think it was fibroids. They were like, too many studies did not look at race specifically or weren't really looking at black women, so we need to specifically study this population. So, but the world in which we live in, so getting to that.
I was just going to say, in terms of advocacy, what we saw was I was not listened to as the person who was being seen, and my advocate, which was my husband, was also not being listened to.
Yeah.
So that just continued to elevate the situation. Even though we had information, they still were not trying to listen until we threatened legal action.
Exactly. Because you can't be the expert.
And so I know when I first approached Nkosi about doing this lecture, we briefly spoke about, I don't know if any of you have followed the story, but it's the Judge Hatcher?
Yes.
Hatchett was, she's a national figure, and
Yep.
her
Daughter.
died, during childbirth. And a lot of it had to do with that was it, because her husband was there. They, of course, educated, high income bracket. So all of that, like Nkosi mentioned earlier, was thrown out the door.
Yep.
It was simply not being listened to. And I think in his case, he was telling the doctors, my wife is in pain. Like, she was agonizing. And they, brushed it off. Everything
Because we don't feel like
because we don't, and so I think back to that idea of no, it's just, and she died. So ever since, and he's become a huge advocate and has been given that platform, given his mother's, connection. So I know now there is a lot more. So as I go through social media, I'll see different men telling stories of they're now raising these kids because because their wives died during childbirth. So I know my mom always my mom told me when the first time, she said childbirth is 1 foot in and out of death. And I was like, wait a minute. Like, this is like, as I'm going to have the baby. So I'm like, wait a minute, wait. But it really is. It really is. And so you need, and with the drugs and everything that you're given, I know, some women, they give them drugs and then they ask them these really important questions. Like, do you want this? Give me anything. Like, so that happens. So the advocacy part, when I came up with this program, was so the information, of course, is, knowledge is power, as you mentioned, but the advocacy part, we have to go with our people to these appointments. No one ever wants to get that call that my wife was going, or anyone, a family member was going to have a baby, or some procedure, and they die, you know? So that part is, with our mothers, our daughters, our whomever, our sons, we just have to not be equipped with the knowledge. And take those articles, those journal articles, I do that too. A doctor hates whenever I talk about an art, they're like, okay, no, but I'm reading you. That's how you got here. You read some journals, you took some tests, you got, and that's how you got here. So I'm just doing the same thing. I just didn't take a test and get my MD. So we just have to not be afraid to advocate for ourselves and others. So I praise you for being that advocate for your wife.
Because in the end of the day, what happened was the procedure that they gave her, they usually give the white woman, they was going to give it to her, and the insurance said we're not going to do that. And I made sure, because I have a very legal, press when I deal with things, is that because of the advocacy had to deal from the state level down, then the doctors apologized and conceded because I wouldn't let up. And they gave her a procedure that was very minimalistic, for what she had to deal with, and wasn't given to black women. So I just know that a lot of times it's taboo to have men involved in things like that. That's why I wonder, how can we get more men activated? Because I know a lot of men don't do things like this. And our women, would you mind us men getting more involved with advocacy, for your health? And that's another social question I want to ask.
Definitely women want men there and want active, interested partners who are emotionally available and emotionally supportive. I think that is what we seek. So I don't think you're going to get pushback, especially from this generation of women who are like, show up for me the way I show up for you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I learned so much today.
I'm glad.
I'm going on part 3. Part 3 in 1 minute.